Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my September wrap up. So you'll know if you watched my life update video that September was not my best reading month. So let's just jump in and talk about my statistics for September. So I read a total of 12 books in September, which is well below average for me. That was made up of a total of 10 novels and 2 novellas. Of the 12 novels, I read 9 in physical format, 1 ebook and 2 audiobooks. And then excluding the audiobooks, I read 6 books that I owned and 4 from the library. I read a total of 4,061 pages in the month of September, which is way below like where it normally is. So my average page numbers per day was 135 pages per day, which is, as you know, I've been trying to keep that above 200. So, and I have done, I think, basically every single month except for one where I was just below, and so 135 is like way below where I kind of want to be at. The longest book I completed was 564 pages and the shortest was 63 pages. The highest star rating I gave was only a 4-star in September, and the lowest star rating I gave was a 2-star. So my average star rating for the month was only 3.13, so that's really low as well. So just overall, as you can see from the statistics, like as a whole, September was not great. It wasn't great in quantity, it wasn't great in quality, it was just not my best month. So here's hoping October will be better, but let's jump in and talk about all of the 12 books that I did read in September. The first book I want to talk about is Players by Karen Swan. This is a just kind of chick lit novel about 3 women who are all best friends, and it just kind of follows their lives, and it is kind of your typical kind of chick lit type story. They are older maybe than the average. They're in their like 30s, like mid to late 30s type of age range if I recall correctly. And this is the 564 page book that I read. So it was way too long. Like for a chick lit novel, it was just way too long. Like it was okay. I enjoyed parts of it, but it had all of the kind of tropes that come along with your general like chick lit type of story, and it just like, it was okay, but I didn't love it or anything, and I gave it 2.5 stars. Next, I read the novella Destroy Me by Tahara Mothi. This is book 1.5 in the Shatter Me series, and it follows Warner's character. I did quite enjoy this. I thought it did a really good job. Like the perspective change from Juliet in the main series to Warner in this was very distinct. I thought it was done very well. It did give you really good insight into Warner's character. He does like, I can find him a bit frustrating at times because he is very like possessive, like kind of in a way, but and not a lot happened in it, but I did really enjoy it, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Next on audio, I listened to Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis, and this is narrated by Ryder Strong. So this is Anthony Kiedis' like memoir about his life, basically from his early life all the way up until when this was published, but it was published quite a while ago. I can't remember when it was published, but like 10 years ago or something like that. And I enjoyed parts of this, but for one thing, this is another really long book. It's almost 500 pages, and it was probably too long. It was quite shocking to see, not shocking because like I know that this is the thing, but like how different people's lives can be. Like the way that he grew up is like so far removed from the way that I grew up. Like he started doing drugs when he was like 11, like smoking pot, and then only a couple of years after that started like doing cocaine and things like that at parties. He had sex for the first time when he was like 12 with his father's like teenage girlfriend, which was just, and like he talks about it as if that's like an okay thing, and like that's not an okay thing. And he also has like a lot of relationships in this book with girls who are much younger than him. And that is the thing, I think, even with him in his life now, like when he's in his 50s, I think when he was like 50, he was dating a 19-year-old, and like to each their own, but it's just a bit, I don't know, I can't relate to that at all. And he talks about sex a lot. Like big parts of the book are just him really tooting his own horn about all his sexual escapades and all the groupies that he slept with, and it's just like, okay, I get it, you slept with a lot of groupies. The only part of the story that I really enjoyed was the insights into, I don't think I even said, in case you don't know who Anthony Kiedis is, he is the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So the parts that I enjoyed were the parts kind of about what inspired different songs and how different albums and songs kind of came to be and what the band members were going through at the time that kind of brought those things out in the songs. So that's the kind of part that I like, but all the other stuff was just really over the top, and I don't know, there's parts of it I really didn't enjoy, and in the end I gave it 2.5 stars. Next, I finished Unravelled Me by Tahara Moffi, so this is book 2 in the series. I enjoyed this as much probably as the first one. I thought we got really great character development in this from both Juliet and Warner, which was really good. I do think that the world, I mentioned this when I talked about the first book, that the plot, so not the plot, that the world could use a bit more developing. Like, it's still the world building. I'm not exactly sure like what's going on. How did the world get here? I just don't get it. I did think this was a little bit light on in terms of plot. This is like a very, very, very dramatic like type of books, but I kind of love that. Like, I enjoy that about it, and I did really enjoy this, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Next, I read Death in the Clouds by Agatha Christie. This is the 13th book in the Hercule Poirot series. So this one follows Hercule Poirot, and he is on a plane traveling, I think it's from France to London, I think it is, and someone dies or is murdered on the plane, and you know, so Hercule Poirot helps to investigate. And can I just say, if I was ever on any kind of journey, a plane, a bus, a train, anything, and Hercule Poirot got up, I would take my ass off that plane, bus, train, because someone's gonna die. Because every time Hercule Poirot's on any kind of journey, somebody dies and he needs to investigate. So I'm just saying, if he got on, like I was on a plane and he got on, I'd be like, thanks, I'll fly later. Anyway, so the clues in Agatha Christie books are sometimes so subtle, but they are all there. Like, if you get to the end of the story, like, you can definitely see, like, she's just like her brain works a level above where mine works, so I just normally do not pick up on anything. But in this one, I was really proud of myself because there was a big aspect to the mystery. Like, I didn't work out like the whole end, like who it like ended up being and all of that, but there was a big part of the mystery that became like a big factor that I cottoned onto very, very early. I was like, wait, but like what about that? And then that did become like a huge thing, and I was like, yes. Like, she does make you feel like really proud of yourself when you get something, because her mysteries are so clever that when you get something you're like, good work. I will say these books are a product of their time, so there are sometimes things in them that really don't sit well with me. For example, in this one there is very casual mentioning of not liking fat people or Negroes, and I get that in that time that was something that someone might say, but obviously today in 2017 that's totally not okay, and it's quite a disgusting thing, and it just like makes you feel really like ugh when you read it. But I try to just like put that to the side because I do understand they're a product of their time, but just be aware maybe that there are occasionally mentions of things like that in there. It was enjoyable as ever, and in the end I gave this one 3.5 stars. Next, I read Getting Over Mr. Right by Chrissy Manby. So this is another kind of chick lit type story, and this one follows a girl who is dumped by her boyfriend on Facebook. So he basically he writes some like ambiguous status about him having to really think about things in his life, and she's like, wait, what does that mean? And then a little while later she sees that he's changed his relationship status to single, and she's like, what the hell? And she's trying to get in contact with him, and he's not calling her back. And it's just this whole thing, and then they have ended up breaking up, obviously, and then she's like completely devastated by this breakup, and she basically becomes the most ridiculous human being on the planet because of this breakup. I struggle with this book hardcore. I could not relate to anything that the main character does. She does some awful and ridiculous things in this book that I've never been through a bad breakup, but like I just don't think that this, like I've had friends who have been through bad breakups and they didn't act the way that this girl acted. Like, it was just ridiculous. There was also no character development whatsoever. There's some real inconsistencies in the plot as well. Like, the main character has a younger brother, and the age gap is spoken about at one point, but then she talks about, you know, that something was going on with her and this was going on with him, and it didn't make sense based on the age gap. There's also one point where she talks about that it's so hard when they're fighting, like when she's fighting with her brother because they share a bathroom, and then it's casually mentioned later on about him not cleaning his ensuite bathroom, and I'm like, if he has an ensuite, why are you sharing a bathroom? Like, just stuff like that that really frustrates me. I gave this 2 stars. Looking back, that's probably even a generous rating at 2 stars. I didn't really like anything about this book, to be honest, and yeah, I would not recommend. Next on audio, I listened to Blackout by Lisa Unger. So this is a thriller novel about a woman who has a husband and a young daughter, and she's living quite a privileged life. And it is made very clear to you up front that she and her husband is aware of, well, she is not who she says she is. She's living under a false identity, and she has basically escaped from this situation with a previous boyfriend that was very toxic, and you don't know all the details about what happened at the start, about why this relationship was so terrible and what went on in her life that was so terrible. And so the story jumps around a lot. So you're getting the present day when things are kind of starting to come up again about the past, and her life's kind of starting to unravel. You get the little flashes of the future, because you understand that she's left her life again, this life with the husband and the daughter. So you're getting little flashes of that, plus her life with the husband and the daughter, plus her life before, and it's kind of jumping around a lot, which can get a little bit confusing, particularly on audio, I think. I did enjoy this, but it's the type of story, and I think I said this about the last book. I've read another one by Lisa Unger. You really have to just suspend your beliefs, because there's a lot that happens in these stories that just is not stuff that you would think would happen in real life. There's also, the story is told in first person point of view, even when the main character is not in the scene. So it's almost like she becomes the narrator of scenes that she's not present in, and I wasn't loving that. And as the story becomes on, I kind of understood why the author was using that style of writing, but it kind of called into question things for me earlier on in the book, once I realized why she was doing it, and I don't know, that was a bit weird for me, but it was an enjoyable story, and in the end I gave it 3 stars. Next, I read The Twilight Wife by AJ Banner. So this is a book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and the publishers for approving me to read this one. This is another thriller novel. This one follows a woman who has recently been in a scuba diving accident with her husband, and she has no kind of short-term memory, so she can't remember, basically I think it's the last 4 years if I recall correctly. So she doesn't remember marrying her husband, and basically from that kind of time onwards, so she doesn't remember their lives together or any of that, and she's trying to recover from this accident and remember their lives together, and he's trying to help her remember, and they're living on this little island, and where they've moved after the accident for her to kind of, get her life together and all of those things, when she starts to feel that maybe everything is not as it seems, because she starts to remember have these little flashes that makes her think that maybe her life before wasn't as nice and happy as what her husband is making it seem that it is. So kind of a tropey kind of thriller plotline, but I'm into tropey thriller plotlines, to be honest. I loved the setting on this, of the island. I've read another book recently, and I think it was a NetGalley thriller as well, that was set on an island, and I'm discovering that I just really love books set on islands. The kind of vibe about island life, and you're trapped on this little island, and there's only a few people out there, and I don't know, I just kind of really like that with a thriller. It kind of adds a lot to the story. The main problem that I had with this was towards the end, when the whole outcome of everything, you're finding out what has happened. When that part happens, it was just a big dumping of information. There wasn't as much of a slow unraveling of the mystery as what I would have preferred. It was just the main character found one thing out, and then it was bam, 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 bam. She just found out everything, and everything exploded, and I was oh, okay, we're not going to get I don't know, it just felt very quick and rushed at that point. It wasn't as much, I say, a slow unraveling as what I would have liked. There were also some parts of the story that I didn't think were explained super well and were kind of convenient, but I did overall really enjoy this story, and in the end I gave this 3.25 stars. Next, I have read Fracture Me. That's the other novella in this collection. It's book 2.5 in the series, and this one is from Adam's point of view. And I really feel the whole purpose of this novella was just to make you dislike Adam, and it worked. I don't really like Adam. I liked him at the start of the series, but as the series goes on, I just don't really like him anymore, to be honest, and I feel he, in real life, if he was a real person, he would be a total mansplainer. He is very sexist, and I didn't realize that. I don't know if you were supposed to, obviously, at the start, but as the series goes on, I was just he's really sexist. Like, he just thinks that he is this big man and he should take care of everything, and the poor little women should just, you know, stay off to the side while the men protect them. And I was just like, ugh. Okay, just not into that at all. So I didn't enjoy this novella as much as the previous one or the other books in this series, and in the end I gave this 3 stars. Oh, I did mean to say as well though, I did really like in this that we get to see Juliet like from the outside, because the main books in the series are told from Juliet's point of view, so getting to see them from someone's point of view and getting to see her kind of like from the outside looking in, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, not my favourite. Next, I read Ignite Me by Tahara Moffi. So this is the 3rd and final book in the Shatter Me trilogy. I really enjoyed this installment. I thought my favourite part of the trilogy, like overall, is the character development for both Warner and Juliet. Both of their characters that you see, and even for Adam, really. Like, the characters from the start, they grow and change so much over the series in what I felt was a really, like, natural, believable way. And I just thought that was done really, really well. I love Tahara Moffi's writing. I really do. In every single one of the 3 main books in the trilogy, I have written down quotes from the story that I was just like, oh, wow, like that's a really good quote. I just really loved it. I'll actually read you the quote that I wrote down from this one that I really liked. And that was, "We are quotation marks, inverted and upside down, clinging to one another at the end of this life sentence." So I don't know. I can see that it's not the type of writing that's for everyone, but I personally really, really enjoy it. I just really enjoyed this. It was my favourite book in the series, to be honest, and in the end I gave this one 4 stars. Next, I read The Overlook by Michael Connelly. This is the 13th book in the Harry Bosch series. This one was a bit of a mixed bag for me. So the kind of middle to like first, like maybe the first half to 2/3 was quite slow and a bit boring, to be honest. And it wasn't a long book. It was only like 260 pages, but the way that the mystery ended up unraveling and what ended up happening, I really enjoyed. I thought it was really well done and like wasn't where I kind of expected the mystery to go. So I did really enjoy that. In the end, I gave this one 3.25 stars. And the final book that I completed in the month of September was Fire and Flood by Victoria Scott. So this, I had heard this described as a dystopian, and I guess it kind of is. So it follows the main character, Tella, and she is it Tella? Yeah, Tella. And she is her brother. She has a brother, and he is dying from cancer, and he's very, very sick, and he doesn't have much longer to live. And she receives an invitation to compete in the Brimstone Bleed, which is this competition that has all these different stages, and basically the person who gets to the end and wins overall will receive a cure for any disease ever. And so obviously she wants to compete in this contest to get the cure for her brother so that he will not die. So it sounds like a dystopian, and like it is, but it's set in our world. Like the world that Tella lives in at the start of the story is exactly our world. There's nothing different about the world. It just happens that there's this competition that she has never heard of, she doesn't know anything about, called the Brimstone Bleed, where this happens. And so that was, like, kind of threw me off. It was a bit weird for me. I was like, wait, what? She lives in our world, but there's this thing? I don't know. I feel like that really needs to be developed more in future books. And there are some people in the competition who have heard of the Brimstone Bleed, but not everybody has. I don't know. It was a bit strange. And the way that all the contestants kind of get the information is from this earpiece. So she gets delivered this earpiece and she puts it on and it's like, you've been invited. And I just thought, like, if that happened to me, I'd be like, what is this? Like, this isn't real. But all these people, and there are like hundreds of contestants. I think there's like 140 or something contestants at the start of the Brimstone Bleed. And they all have obviously blindly believed this earpiece. And I was just like, I don't necessarily believe that they would believe these earpieces. So that was a bit weird for me, but I did really enjoy the story. I enjoy the romance that happens in here. It was very action-packed. There's also these things in here called Pandoras, which are everyone at the start, not everyone, at the start of the competition, the first like part of it is to race and get these like eggs, and in the egg is a Pandora. And the Pandoras are, all of them are different. Like, they're different creatures that can do like different things. And the Pandoras was probably my favorite part of the book. And like I say, I had some problems with, like, this wasn't a perfect book, but I did really, really enjoy it. And in the end, I gave this 3.75 stars. So those were all of the books that I read in the month of September. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you have any thoughts, any books that you read in September that you really, really enjoyed or you really, really hated. I would love to chat down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That's all I've got for this video today. Bye, guys.